You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacay for the busy woman of color who is on her healing journey and just needs a little bit of guidance. I am your host, Danielle Washington. Last week, we talked about self-care vacation ideals to help you reset. And this week, I wanted to have a conversation about actual destinations that you can go to for these resetting moments and what I'm calling finding me travel destinations. I love, and they're different than just solo trips. There's so many places to go, especially as a female solo trip person that you can take that I don't feel have the same effect as when you're doing self-discovery or trips that are supposed to be more reflection and helping you heal. So this moment, we're going to talk about all these types of locations opposed to locations you can take for just normal, basic solo travel trips. I love all of them, but this conversation is going to be a little bit different. So before I get started, I wanted to do what's called box breathing. Box breathing is a yogic type of breathing that helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our body that helps us to realize that we're safe, gives us the feeling of being relaxed. It also is a great way to calm down the mind. It lowers stress, and it's just all around great kind of breathing technique to know. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to inhale to the count of 4, hold the breath to the count of 4, then exhale to the count of 4, and then holding the breath out. You want to be able to count silently in your head, but you want to make sure you're doing it very slow. I'm going to count for you, but if you're doing this on your own, you just want to count in your head slowly. So I invite you, if you aren't already, close your eyes and begin to breathe out slowly, releasing all the air from your lungs. And then breathing in through your nose, count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding the breath, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Holding the breath out again, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath out, 3, 2, 1. One last time, breathing in, counting on your own, filling your body with air, holding, exhaling, holding the breath out. And inhale and exhale. And let's begin our conversation today. So solo travel, that is about finding you. Finding me travel destinations. I like the idea of finding me. I love trips that really focus in on my well-being. Don't get me wrong, I love a good trip that's all about having fun and all these different things. And again, self-care trips and trips that are about finding yourself and taking care of yourself and recharging. It doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be you're stuck in a yoga ashram somewhere in the middle of nowhere learning how to meditate. That's not what this is about. But these destinations are ones that I think are really great destinations for helping you kind of tune in and connect with yourself. One of my favorite places to go is Bali. I love Bali, and there's all parts of Bali. I'm not saying go to Canggu or some of these other places, Seminyak, which is definitely about the party scene. Yeah, you can go there, but it's not going to be maybe the destination you're looking for. I really love being in places like Cedarman and being in Ubud. Cedarman is a small area which people call it, like, I guess is what Ubud used to be before it became popular. But both Cedarman and Ubud have this beautiful quality of them. That you have the nature around it. Being in Cedarman, there's actually nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing. I found this most amazing resort where the wall was just the open air. It was a no wall. It led straight out to the open air and overlooked an infinity pool and these rice fields. And it was one of the most breathtaking and experiences I've ever had in my life. Just waking up and you are feeling the cool air of nature. You're feeling it when you're sleeping. You're just kind of there. And it took me a while, I won't lie, to kind of adjust to the fact that it's just me. It's just me and nature. But once I was able to do so, it was one of the most amazing things. And I say that same thing about being in Ubud. There's so many places in Ubud. You can be in downtown, which is a little bit more of the hustle bustle. But that being said, there's just something kind of lovely and enchanting about being in Ubud, from the rice fields, from the beautiful mountains that you see, the just all around the trees and nature. And it just has this je ne sais quoi about it. It has this feeling of just recharging and relaxing, and it's so inviting for you to kind of take care of yourself. One of the places I love going to is the Soulshine Resort. It's a Black-owned resort in Ubud. Love that it's Black-owned, but not even that it's Black-owned. It's just a bomb-ass place. They have created what they have, which is what barefoot luxury. It's one of the first places I felt comfortable just to kind of chill and walk around barefoot with like no shoes on, just chilling, being me. The rooms were amazing. The view was great. The food was really healthy and lovely. They also had music so I could dance. They had drinks if I wanted to drink. They have, yoga if you want to do yoga. There's so many different things, but it was just a beautiful way to kind of be there and not also be in the noise. But I'm also a huge fan of being at Yoga Barn. When I love going to Ubud, one of the first things I always go to is Yoga Barn. I think of Yoga Barn as the Burning Man for yogis. It has meditation, it has Reiki, it has massage places. The food is all healthy. Their cafe is amazing. Their smoothies are great. They have aesthetic dancing. There's just everything. And it's also where I discovered Kundalini Yoga. So I love, love, love being at Yoga Barn. But I just love just the feel of being in Bali itself. There's something about Bali that just makes you it's just a beautiful spot that has like a spiritual heart to it. From its temples to its waterfalls, there's just something about being there. The mountain views, the fresh air. It's one of my favorite places to go for when I feel like I need time to kind of find myself. And that same vein, staying in that same area, I love Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is a town in Thailand that is gorgeous. It has an amazing wealth of food and culture. It's one of my places where it's a place where I discovered I like Thai food. I actually went to Thailand to kind of do this trip to see if I really like Thai food or not. Found some amazing vegan Thai food places, but it also is one of those places where it had such beautiful temples. It had like the mountains, it had amazing, breathtaking views, the landscape, the parks, the streets, the people. It was affordable, which I loved, but it also made me feel like it was a spot where even when I wasn't trying to meditate and connect with myself, I just found myself in that state. I found myself in a very peaceful state. A place that people may not think about, which is interesting for me, that I really found about a good kind of quote unquote finding me spot, was being in Cuba. Yep, I said Cuba. Cuba, it's changing more and more, and I can't say how it is right now because I haven't been back since pre-pandemic. I used to go every year before the pandemic. I love the fact that it's one of those places where there was no Wi-Fi at one point in time. I mean, now there is, but like going to places like Trinidad, Cuba, just a quieter location, connecting with people, connecting with their spirit. One of the things I love about travel and finding myself is you sometimes find yourself in other cultures. You find yourself in the quietness. You find yourself in someone else's joy, like the joy of like the way people live in Havana and Trinidad, the food, the simplicity of life. There was just something so beautiful about that as a self-discovery trip. I discovered so much about myself in going back to a place where they have the cars from 50s, where, you know, hot water may not always be the same thing, like may not be available. And it's something interesting when you allow yourself to kind of remove yourself to a culture that you're used to and switching into something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Minus the fact that the music, the food, the culture, the real spiritual aspect of being in Cuba and connecting with Santeria and connecting with the Afro-Cuban culture, it just was for me a beautiful, beautiful location. I say the same thing about going to places like Ghana or South Africa as well, kind of connecting back to your roots. I loved going to Costa Rica. That's another spot that I feel like Costa Rica just sings. It is synonymous with wellness. There's so many things to do, from ayahuasca to all these other type of healing retreats to yoga retreats. There is something for you in terms of wellness and connecting with yourself in Costa Rica that I feel like I don't need to say much because, again, when you think of Costa Rica, it's like, duh, no brainer. There's so many places to go in Costa Rica for that experience. A place that most people may not think about is I loved going last year to Puerto Vallarta, but not just going to Puerto Vallarta, going a little bit outside of Puerto Vallarta and going to places like Sayulita. Sayulita is this little surf town, and if you are okay with not having internet, this is the place for you. There is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. It's a way to kind of reconnect with yourself on a beach. There's something about being in that area. It's just something that I loved. And I feel like when we go to these beach vacations and, you know, you're paying for your chair and there's a DJ and all these other different things, and there's all these like hip restaurants and clubs, and I feel like we get lost in the trips, and those are great. I think, again, there's a time for all that, but if you're looking to get away, reflect, and connect with yourself, why not find a place where the internet's most likely not going to be working for you? And that's what I loved about Sayulita, the fact that it's just a cute location to kind of connect and go to. Also, a place I go to that is not far from me is I like going to the wine country. So whether it's I don't go to Napa. I mean, I go to Napa if someone's in town, but that's not where I go to connect with myself. I love going to places like Hillsburg, or I like going to Paso Robles, and they're a little bit off the beaten path. Well, Hillsburg, I feel like it's kind of not so much off the beaten path, but it's not as crowded as being in Napa. Great wineries. I love being in the kind of like that area. It reminds me of being in Italy. The food is great, and just kind of, again, connecting with nature. Being in Paso Robles is close to Cambria, so you can have, like, if you want to go to wine tasting, and I do wine taste by myself, there's something about kind of just walking around, connecting with different people. I like that feeling. There's cute little shops, but I also like going to like Cambria and then being on the beach. Beautiful, beautiful area. I highly recommend it for a moment of a find me destination. What I don't often talk about, which is interesting, I think is kind of my top place for finding me, was Italy. Italy was my first. Italy popped my cherry in finding me. It was when I decided to go there, and the first time I went to Italy, I was going to visit friends who were living there. and I took a side trip to Rome. My friends were living in Florence, and I took a trip to Rome by myself. It was my first real solo trip, and I discovered so much about myself living there. But just in general, there's so many places in Italy. I love being in Puglia. It's not as crowded, less people. It's a little bit quieter. Gorgeous, gorgeous. As I always tell people, it's probably one of the best places if you want a beach vacation that people don't know about. I love being in Florence. Just for me, that's just another vibe. But getting outside of Florence and being in Tuscany or being in Umbria, being in Perugia, it's a hilltop town. Quiet. You get lost in labyrinth of just walking up, down these hilltops, areas that with steps built into it because it's so steep in the area, but you have these breathtaking views, and there's just a peacefulness behind being in a place like Umbria and being in a place like Perugia that I think that people miss out on when they go to Italy. They, think of Florence, they think of Venice, they think of Milan. I invite you, if part of your trip, you have the opportunity to take a moment to slow down and kind of connect with yourself, being in places like Puglia and being in places like Perugia and Umbria, I think are amazing places for me that I truly love. And then here in the United States, they have, so many different places to go. There's a lot of places are popping up, these like tiny cabins that are popping up everywhere. There's wellness resorts that are everywhere. There's Sedona, which, you don't always think of Arizona. Maybe you do think about Arizona, but not everyone remembers or realizes that Arizona or Utah are great places for wellness locations. And there's something, especially in Sedona that has that, spiritual vortex in it. And it's a great place for you to kind of go to find yourself. But I always say this, and I'm going to say this in the podcast with this as well, is taking a staycation can be a finding me moment. Making your home, making your local area. There's so many ways you can do that by renting an Airbnb. You can use your own house. You can get a hotel, find a local resort. You don't have to go far to create a finding me travel destination. All it takes is a little bit of creativity, being open, and taking the opportunity to take time and give yourself your undivided attention. I hope this helps. If you have ideals for other places, let me know. I definitely would love to shout you out and give people some other ideals that I didn't mention, because there's so many places to go. But whatever works for you, figure out what it feels like and what feels right for you and go there. I encourage you, you can look at Instagram and follow trendy spots, but figure out what works for you. Going to Bali may not be right for you. Going to Italy may not be right for you. Maybe for you, it's going to Ghana. Maybe it's going to Morocco. Maybe it's going to Egypt. Find what works for you. Or maybe it's going to San Diego. Whatever it is, find what works for you. Honor what your body needs. Honor what your mind needs to help you reset, relax, and recharge. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.